Today in this lecture, we will discuss about the command class methods. Command class is one of the component of our ADO.NET architecture. Command class store the commands and their parameters in the command objects. When we implement these objects, then we have four methods using which we can easily working with the database. So this is in this lecture I am using very basic projects, that is console level projects, because I am not making it as a complicated, because I am concentrating on what is the actual idea of these methods, what is the working of these methods. So that's why I am using the console class. I am using the console class methods. So before starting, let me know that this video lecture has three parts. So this is the first part. You must see the whole parts to understand the concepts, because whatever the database we are using or whatever the concepts we are implementing, in the first part I will discuss the introductions and then the first method of command class, that is execute reader. Before starting it, let's have a look at the database we are working with. Here is a database we are working with. It has a rows and it has a EMP. It's a EMP table. So let's look at the design view of this table. So this table has a 5 fields, that is EMP number, e-name, that is a text, job is a text, salary and debt. So this is the structure of the table, and I have already inserted some rows in the table because we have to display the data which is stored in the EMP table, and we have to working upon this. So that's why we have some demo rows in this table. So now goes to the Visual Studio. In a Visual Studio, you have to develop a console application. To develop the console application, go to the new project and then select console application rather than window form applications. Why I am using this? Because it's the simplest form of application. We are not using the controls to enter the data, to display the things, because these are the secondary things. Because once we have understand this, we can easily display the data using the text control or any other control. So our main concern is to understand the working of execute reader method. So first method is a execute reader. This method provides the data that can be retrieved using the SQL statement. So when we use this method, one thing you must remember, that this method works in the connected mode. Second, it is a read only. You can't edit the data, you just read the data and display the data. And last and important one is it is a forward only record set. Forward only record set means you can read the data in a forward manner. Means if you read the first row, then you will get the second row, third row, so on, but you can't go to the reverse. If you are in the second row, then there is one option that you can go to the third row, but you can't go to the first row. So this is the working of forward only record set. So when we have to display the data in of the specific table or tables, then one of the most simplest and easy method is execute reader, because It works on the SQL statement, return the result, store the result in a record set form, and then we have to just read the record set and display the data. So let's look at the codes, how this works on. As we have discussed that if we are using the console level application, that's why select on new project, then select the console application, not the window fonts. When you click OK, you will see like this view, and there is no control, because in a console application you are writing in a code just like in a C or C++ language. Then you run the code and display the result on the console window. But you have a one window, that is a Data Explorer window. Using the Data Explorer window, we are uh, we can get the connection with the database in an easy way, because to work with the database, the foremost and first thing is you have a connection that works with the database. So how we can add a connection? Then select the data connection, then select the add connection. Now it shows that the data source is Microsoft Access Database file OLEDB, because we are using the Access database. So to access this file, we are using this driver, that is a Microsoft Access Database file. However, we can change this, but other drivers are for the SQL Server or SQL Server database file. So for our example, the more appropriate data source is Microsoft Access Database file. Next, browse your database file so that we can access it. In my example, I have stored this file in a document file, that is workers.mdb. Select open, and now test the connection. If it says that test connection is succeeded, it means your connection has been established with the database and again with a table. Because when we click OK on this, as I have did this, so this icon will be shown. It shows that there is a connection with the workers.mdb.accdb. When I click on the arrow, there are 4 folders, and if I click on the tables arrow, it shows that workers database has only one table, that is EMP table. And if I again press the arrow in front of the EMP table, this shows that how many fields this table has. So this table has 5 fields, that is EMP number, e-name, job, salary, and debt number. You can check it, cross-check that in our database, and further the worker database we have a EMP table and we have a 5 fields as well. So all the information are retrieved here, that what is the database, how many tables are there, and what are the field of each table. So we can easily use the name of these table in our code. So now next, just right mouse click on this connection, then select the properties. When you select the properties, then you see that here is a properties of workers.mdb.accdb connections. So first string of this, first property of this is a connection string. This string contains the path of the database along with the provider. You will see that this string shows that provider is Microsoft ACE OLEDB, as we have seen in our dialog box, and data source is C user Toshiba whatever documents workers.mdb and username is admin. This thing already we have shown. I will show you again. If I click on the data connection and then we click on the add connection, then you see that data source is Microsoft Access database OLEDB and database file name, whatever the file name. If I select the file name workers here and click open, then this is the path C user Toshiba document workers MDB. The path is here and the username is admin. So this is the properties of connection string, that what is the provider we are being used and what is the path of the database and what is the user. It is optional. If you don't want to add the user, you can omit it. So now when we have to start write the code, then first foremost thing is you have to import the libraries, that is system.data, and another library is system.data.oledb, because we are working with the provider that is based on the OLEDB. So now next, when we start writing the code, we have to declare some variable because we are using the OLEDB provider, so all the basic connections and command variable will be the OLEDB type. So first one is OLECN, means OLE connection, a string which can store the connection string properties, the connection string values you can say, and it is a type of OLEDB connection. Second type of variable is OLECM. OLECM is a OLE type command object and it is a type of OLEDB command. We have two more variables, one is query, second is CN string. Query stores the query that will be executed on this table, and CN string contains the connection strings properties values. And last one is OLEDR, that is the OLE data reader. A data reader is used to store the result that is returned by the execute reader function. Later we will see how will this work. So in a starting, as I have discussed previous, that what is the value of this connection property, just select this value, copy this and paste this to store these properties, connection properties values in a CN string by surrounding the double quotes. Second, we have a query string, and now I am writing the query that select ename job from env. It means we are extracting only the ename or job field from the table. You can write the query using the star, or you can access any other fields whatever you want to like. So this is the basic thing. This store the query string, that what is the query that should be executed on the EMP table by this provider. So now we initialize the connection string because it's an object. Remember, always initialize the objects using the new keyword, because new keywords declare the initialize the object of particular class. Now let's see the difference. What is the difference between this statement dim OLCN as OLEDB and OLECN equal to new OLED connection, because it is most important to understand the difference between two. So first one is it only declare the OLCN type object of the OLEDB connection class, but this object has null value or none value because it is only declared but it is not initialized, or it doesn't have any value. Same with the OLECM. OLECM is the object that is the type of OLEDB command, but this object is only declared with a none value or null value. So we have to assign these objects the values by assigning the reference of their respective classes. So, well, we have to assign the connection string value to the connection object. So we use the new keyword and call the OLEDB connection class constructor. Now what this statement will do? This statement will create a new object of type OLEDB connection and initialize that object with the connection string values. Now, because and the reference of this newly object is now stored in the OLECN object. It means OLECN object stores the reference of newly created OLEDB connection object. This is the most important thing to understand. And secondly, a similar way, when we initialize or will we assign the value to OLECM, that is the OLEDB command type object, it requires two parameters. One is what is the query that should be executed. Second one, what is the connection that it will be used to access the table and then run the query. So now in this statement, a new OLEDB command type object is created and the reference of that object is stored in this object. Now these two objects has been assigned with the new references. So in the easy way we can say that well we refer to the OLECN, we were referring to the this string value, when we refer to the OLCN, then we refer to the query or connection values, whatever. So now the next part is, until this we have passing the value and initialize the objects or assign the value to the object. Now we open the connection using the connection class function open. So what does this mean? This is the OLCN object. It calls the open function. It means function should connection of a database should be opened. What connection should be open? Which connection string, path of connection string or property of connection string is passed. So now it used that using the data source path, it will access the worker.mdb and establish the connection using Microsoft ACE OLEDB provider. Now connection has been opened. No matter there we have to put the check here whether the connection has been opened successfully or not. But again I am saying I'm going to the very simple way by assuming that there is no problem at all in all the statements. So that's why I am not making it a complicated, because my main consultation is to understand how we can use the execute reader functions, what are the basic things required to use it, and lastly how we can get the data. So you can, or this is, and second one is, this is the very simple example. If you have to write the example in your exam, the how data reader is working or execute reader is working, so you can easily write. It is as acceptable as we can work with the GUI window forms. So when connection has been opened, then a command type function is called, that is execute reader. Now what execute reader do? It will execute the SQL query, which is stored in the query string variable. So in this case, it will execute the SQL query, select ename job from EMP. If we see the database and further data table, then we see that if this query will executed, then it will get the row values of EMP as well as value of the job. We have two columns, and query will read the values of these two columns. So when this method will executed, it means we have a record set having two fields, that is ename and job, and these record it has a one or more rows. In this example, if we read, then ename job has a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So when this will be executed, the record set will return the 9 rows of having columns ename and job. These all record the result of execute reader will be stored in the data reader. Or you can say in a simple word, I am saying, otherwise the actual thing is the reference of that query result is returned to the OLEDR. So now what is the role of data reader? It will read the result row by row, and then we can work upon that result whatever we want. So because we don't know how many rows are there in the return query, so we use the while loop, which will be executed until the read method returns false, because when read method read the next row, it returns the true. It means it next row is there. But when it reaches to the end of the record data set or result, whatever the query result, then there is no next row to be read. In that case, it will return false. So in a while loop, we write that OLEDR.read, it will read the first row, and then we use the write line function with the matches, and this is OLEDR get string 0 means 0 means the first column and 1 means the second column. For example, if I write here select star from EMP, in that case EMP number will be the 0, ename will be the 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many columns are there in our query? According to every column has index value. So in our query there are two columns only. So we have only two indexes, that is the 0 for the ename and 1 for the job. So this will print the first value, then it will go to push the cursor to the next line, and then OLEDR will read the next row. And similar way this process will continue until it returns the false. When we print all the rows, and after that we close the data reader object, then we dispose the command, and finally we close the connection. And this is the read key, which will works like it get ch, that it will pause here until you will enter any key. Now run the program and see the result. You will see that first we have write employee name here, and this says employee name, Jaswinder. Second, what is the job? It will print the job as present. Then it will read the next row and so on. And finally, it will it reads all the row. Now let's verify with the EMP table. You will see the first row is E name is Aman and job is developer, and if we see here, first row is the Aman, job is developer. Second row is Gurpreet, job is designer. Here second row is Gurpreet and job is designer. Okay, so if I press the key, then this is the working of read key, that it will pause the result. When you press the read key, then command window will be vanished and program will be terminated. So finally is execute reader is what does it do? It works on the query, then return all the rows whatever the returned by the query, otherwise it returns the null, and then we use the data reader which read the row by row result values from the result returned by the execute reader, and we can use this result as we can otherwise the general ways to print the result to verify whether we are working or not, we are working fine or not. So this is all about the execute reader, and then in the next lecture we will discuss about the next method of command class.